What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of my R&B review. Let me, this is your boy Reg here. This is your boy Reg here, and the album I'm about to review for you today is Rick James with his, I believe, his eighth studio album, Glow, released in 1985 on Gory Records. Oh, Jesus Christ! Alright, sorry about that, but yeah, sing. No, fuck this. Give me a second. Yeah, that's Rick James Glow. Singles albums known for are I came out with a couple singles which are of course his title track Glow, um Can't Stop and Spend the Night with Me. Alright. And of course you guys should know that Rick James produced this whole fucking record and shit like that, you know? So yeah. Alright, so okay, so the latter part of Rick James's career. There's a lot to be said about, the latter part of Rick James's career when you be talking about post Cold Blooded. I know a lot of people have like a lot of bad to say about it and shit like that. Okay, yeah. I know a lot of people have like a lot of bad things to say about the latter part of like Rick James's career and shit like that, but um out of all the albums, in his discography, this is the one that kind of go back and forth with it. And there's a lot to be said about, what he was going through around the time he was making this album. So between 1983 and 1985, Rick James was kind of like possibly, at the peak of his career. Cold Blooded was another successful hit in Motown. It was number one in the charts and shit like that. Um, Also around this time too, he had discovered the Mary Jane Girls, and you guys should know who the Mary Jane Girls are. They're known for songs like All Night Long, Candyman, In My House, which a lot of people know them for In My House and shit like that. So yeah, they was again like a lot of popularity and shit like that. And they were made after a response, to success of Vanity Six, which of course was discovered and made by the Prince. More on Prince later on. So Mary Jane Girls, they were getting like a lot of popularity on MTV and BT. Also, he was producing for like a lot of people around this time too. Like I mentioned, he produced The Temptations, Standing on the Top from the what was the album? What was the album? Throwing Down album, which that also appeared on the Reunion album as well, where she did some production work on that. He worked with Shaka Khan on her 1982 self-titled album, which was a very, very, very slept on album and shit. But unfortunately, that album has never been released on CD as well, which kind of pissed me off and shit like that too. And so he also discovered this young affiliate I mean not discovered, but he put her on and shit like that, produced her record, Val Young and shit like that, who was an affiliate of Parliament and Funkadelic and shit. So, but his biggest his biggest like possibly his crossover appeal was somewhat an unexpected one because it was he he had gotten cool with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy, was very big back in, of course, the early '80s and shit like that. Well, he was big in the '80s, but early '80s, he was doing Saturday Night Live. He was in movies like, of course, 48 Hours and Trading Places and shit like that. So he was on fire at that time, and I think at that time too, he had just done Beverly Hills Cop, which that's like legitimately one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies, period, and shit like that. Um, so him and Eddie Murphy got cool, and Eddie wanted to sing, so he did the. Of course, he did some work on his album How Could It Be, and he did a track called Party All the Time, which it's pretty much a guilty pleasure. It's like one of those songs that's so bad it's good in its own way and shit like that. And so that song got him, got Eddie Murphy a lot of airplay and shit like that. Got him, a lot of play in MTV and BT. So with all this exposure, all this success, and somewhat of a mainstream success, Rick was somewhat dissatisfied in a way because the fact that he had I mentioned this I think before on the in the earlier Rick James reviews that he had like a lot of issues with MTV not playing his videos and stuff like that because you guys should know that they banned the video of Super Freak because they thought it was too sexual. They didn't even play the Ebony Eyes video and shit like that, but when they were doing videos for Standing on the Top from the Temptations. They were doing videos for Eddie Murphy Party All the Time, and of course the Mary Jane Girls. He kind of was like it was very hypocritical and shit like that, and he would of course call them out too in the future, including when in the future during the wonderful era when he um had the Lucy's rap video, but they banned the Lucy's rap video too because they claimed it was a bit too sexual as well too. So yeah, crazy thing, crazy. But fast forward to 19. Well, I forgot to mention like 1984. He had also, excuse me, he had also dropped a compilation, the Reflections compilation, which was pretty much some greatest hits albums, of course, from the first album, Street Songs, and so on and so on. But then he had some unreleased cuts like "Oh What a Night for Love," dope song, "You Turn Me On," and "17," which is kind of like a questionable song where he's talking about him chilling with like a 17-year-old and shit like that. But yeah, it's crazy, crazy. But so yeah, with this album, and also what also was crazy around this time too was like his drug use was kind of getting out of hand and shit like that. Um, so pretty much with this album, he kind of cut back on the drugs and shit. He was kind of pretty much a little sober with this album, and he was in a way having a lot more disagreements with Motown because with all the success with Motown, I mean with Rick James and shit like that, they really wanted him to do like more pop song like Sex Rick James and shit like that. And you'll notice like with this album, he kind of went for the how can I put this? It's not a traditional Rick James album. I'm just gonna put it out right there. It's not your traditional Rick James album because he went for like a more new wave kind of a synth rock. Well, not like borderline rock, but it was kind of like kind of like a crossover appeal and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So he was beefing a lot with Motown, and it kind of reached a peak once we got into the next album and shit like that, The Flag, which I'm gonna talk about possibly sometime later on this month and shit like that. So, and that's another big one right there. And so the reason why he called the album Glow is because of the fact that it's a boy in search for glow, pretty much and shit. So with that being said, 1985 was when this album came out. Um, Again, Rick James with the fucking album covers, man. Like what the fuck, Rick? Really? Like this is probably one of my least favorite looks of Rick James when he had the Sue Ellen from Dallas hairstyle. And you guys remember the show Dallas and shit like that. You guys know what I'm talking about. So yeah, like, come on, man, really? Like the questionable album cover, man. It's always Rick Steves and shit. So, and of course, you got what I like, the album, the lyrics on the album sleeve and shit. Then you got the some picture of Rick James, having like a little glow in his hand and shit. So that's pretty cool. All right, song has 10 songs. You guys know what I'm about to do. Track number 1, Can't Stop. Very interesting song right there. Very cool song. Where, from what I looked up, I don't know if this is really true, but this was originally supposed to have been on the theme song or the soundtrack to Beverly Hills Cop. And I kind of want to agree with it because, in a way, it sounded like, if you listen to the beat, it sounded like it could have been, like, it sounded like a cousin of some sorts to Party All the Time, the bouncy synthesizers or some shit like that. Um, yeah, Can't Stop, pretty alright song, nice way to start the album and shit like that. Track number 2, Spend the Night with Me. Yeah, that song was pretty ill, traditional Rick James when it comes to the lyrics. He sees a chick and shit like that he fucking digs and shit, and she watched him in the show, and all he's thinking about when he's performing was fucking, I just wanted to like get in bed with you, and you guys know what I'm about to get at. So that's fucking Spend the Night with Me. Um, yeah, man, I love when he says she has fire in her eyes, she had moonlight lips, and something strange and tantalizing and shit like that. Told me I could not resist her charms, being locked up in her arms. Baby, spend the night with me. Like, he was just, swooning all over this chick and shit. So, track number 3, Melody, Melody Make Me Dance. That song was okay. The beat was pretty dope though, but it's like one of those 80s dance kind of tracks that I could either love or hate, but the beat pretty much saved it. That's all I'm gonna say. Track number 4, Somebody the Girls Got, which that song was pretty ill and shit like that. Pretty cool song. I love the synthesizers that was played out throughout the whole song. Kind of gives it like a more of like a futuristic kind of vibe and shit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Track number 5, Glow. Glow, 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 glow. Okay, so this was pretty much a controversial. Well, the song is not really controversial to say the least, but I'm gonna talk about the controversial part. This was like a big, big, big song in a way back in '85. Love this song. It's like a very beautiful song where like the synthesizers come in, and it's like the way the song was mixed too has like a nice little happy kind of song, dance kind of song in the '80s and shit. You can feel Vic's energy throughout this whole song and shit. But it's kind of controversial too because he did a music video to this song, and a lot of people, if you guys watch the video, this was released at a time when Purple Rain was very popular, and you kind of see like a lot of similarities between the video and Purple Rain, like the rumpled up shirt, even the little white thing on his shirt and shit like that. The egotistic protagonist, the girl that does not understand, the girl that does not pretty much understand the protagonist. Um, just the way they were performing and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And I was looking some shit up about this album, and I came across an interview that Sheila E. did, I think for Rolling Stone or something, and she said, and I quote, "Rick James is a dog, and he stole our shit with this video," and unquote, basically, and shit like that. So yeah, it was pretty, and the video pretty much, was one of those long form music videos, and it was still not it was still not being like played like that in MTV. So it's crazy as hell. But Glow, that's pretty much a favorite song off this album, I would say. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. My throat got a little dry and shit. So yeah, that was fucking Glow. And I'm gonna discuss a lot more when it comes to Prince and the Revolution at the end of this review. And the next song is a track called Moonchild, which possibly my favorite, favorite, favorite song off this album. A song that has been sampled a lot in the hip hop and R&B and shit. And when it comes to this song, very funky track, like very funky track and shit like that. Definitely has that. I'm gonna go out on a Saturday night. At that time, I had that. I'm gonna go out on a Saturday night party and shit like that. Probably snort a line or two. I'm not condoning drugs, but at that time, cocaine was pretty high at that time, So if you're in that steez, you're in that steez. If not, don't go around saying that I'm over here promoting drugs and shit like that. But yeah, very dope song, fucking Moonchild. I love the line when he says, "Want to make the whole world pay attention. There was someone special in my life. Give the girl an honorable mention when he talked of all the angels in the sky. Heaven must have sent her, hallelujah, to be there even in my times of strife. She's really someone special in my life. She's my Moonchild." Like, and the way he was singing that song, man, like one of his best songs vocally and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And this song has been pretty much sampled a lot. Most notably, it's been used by Mary J. Blige and shit like that. You guys should know the song. I don't even have to say the song. So that's fucking Moonchild. Next track is Sha La La La, Come Back Home. Um, Horrible title. Let me just say that right there. But this is actually a very dope ballad and shit. Again, I like the way this song is mixed and shit like that. Listening to this song, you would not believe that Rick James is a Rick James song, really, because even when it comes to his ballads at times and shit like that, they tend to go for more like the soulful side, especially when it comes to like Happy, which is an underrated ballad with Tina Marie. Of course, Fire and Desire, Space You Love, another one that don't get talked about like that. But Sha La 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 has somewhat of I want to say, if you're a fan of Sting's debut solo album and shit like that, it has something in that vein and shit like that in a way. And I believe that album was released that same year or the year after, which I'm not the biggest Sting or the Police fan, but I've heard the album and that was a pretty solid album and shit. So it has somewhat of that vibe and shit. So with fucking Sha La La La, very dope song. The background vocals is, in my opinion, what makes this song, in my opinion, because it brings the song more to life and shit. Very dope song, Sha La La La, Come Back Home, despite the well, not horrible title, but title, you know. And the last official song off this album is Rock and Roll Control, which pretty pretty cool track. Has somewhat of like a very rock new wave kind of edge towards it and shit like that. And yeah, very cool track. And it ends off with a reprise of Glow and shit like that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this, I've said some good things about this project, and I've said some questionable things about this project, and I'm just gonna say when it comes to this album right here, 85, 86 was the year when Rick James and Prince kind of switched styles. Like I'm gonna put it to you bluntly, you know. With Prince, during the time he was doing the Around the World in a Day and Parade, mostly talking about Parade and shit like that. He was starting to use a lot more horns within his music and stuff, you know, especially with Girls and Boys, Mountains. Love those tracks, by the way, and shit like that. And that of course caught a lot of people off guard and shit like that because you know they wanted of course another Purple Rain too, and so but at the end of the day, both Parade actually became like a number one album, very successful album and shit like that. And you know, a lot of critics, of course, love the album. With this album and shit like that, Rick pretty much had the tendency, if you listen to a lot of his shit and know from his roots, you know, his roots with Neil Young and shit, he had a lot of time to really cross over to the rock audience. But he said, I think he said in the interview I looked up that he didn't really want to cross over to rock audience and shit like that because he just wanted to keep it strictly R&B and funk, you know, with this audience, the black audience, in other words. So with the fucking Glow album, it's pretty much the closest he would ever get to that sound and shit like that. And this came a lot of time because a lot of fans, you know, in today's time, mostly I've witnessed, they've kind of said that he was kind of like trying to go for a more Minneapolis sound and shit like that too with this album. And even to this day, it kind of gets unfairly hated upon, and a lot of people really look at this album as the beginning of the end for Rick James and shit like that. And you know, it's crazy too because this is actually the only album in his discography that's not, and I repeat, not released on CD, single wise. Because you can only get it if you get the 2014 complete Motown albums compilation and stuff like that, where they have everything from Come Get It up to The Flag and shit. But for some odd reason, you know, Motown, and that's the fucking thing with Motown sometimes and shit like that, you know. They certain albums they would fucking release on fucking CD. Certain albums they won't release on CD and shit like that. Like for example, like Journey Through the Lives of Prince with Stevie Wonder. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think that album has ever been released on CD. Smokey Robinson's Warm Thoughts album never been released on CD and shit like that. But they're too busy, you know, releasing everything from fucking Michael Jackson and shit like that. Which don't get me wrong, I fucking love Michael Jackson. I love the Jackson 5, but they over here they've been trying to release unreleased shit from them since the mid '80s and shit like that. So yeah, and big ups to them for finally releasing the Marvin Gaye "You're the Man" album and shit like that. That was the follow up to What's Going On. Yeah, they finally did something right, actually. And so with back to fucking Rick James Glow. My honest opinion on this album was it's a very, very, very excuse me, very dope album and shit like that. It's not. I'm not gonna recommend it for like the traditional Rick James. If you want to get started with Rick James, I recommend you possibly just starting with either the first album, which is Come Get It, or Street Songs and stuff like that. This is just pretty much, I would say, is for the diehard Rick James fans and shit. But even the diehard Rick James fans don't fuck with this album too. So yeah, man, like this was pretty much when he was getting into his artistic mode. Cause when he does like the artistic, when he gets really artistic, like with the Garden of Love album, which among us albums among my favorite Rick James albums and shit, it gets pretty unfairly hated upon and shit. So yeah, Do I say do I believe Glow gets unfairly hated? Not exactly, but I feel like it deserves a little bit more respect than it deserves, in my personal opinion. So that's Rick James. Glow. If you guys ever find a copy or ever get a hand of the 2014 complete album collection from Motown off him, must have in your collection and shit like that. Or if you're a vinyl head and you see the vinyl in stores and shit, must have in your collection, cop. Because the album kind of goes for a bit of a lot of money. Like, I noticed that a lot of his latter albums and shit like that kind of go for a bit of a lot of money. I was lucky I found this and shit for like $5 in my record store Carolina. So I was so lucky and shit. And it's kind of crazy because I didn't even. It's been there for like days and days and weeks. Now it's kind of like, you know what? Let me just cop the album. I'm a fan of Rick James and shit. So this is Rick James Glow 1985. Must have in your collection. And just a few announcements I gotta make. This upcoming Thursday at about 9:30, Tribal and I we're gonna talk about El Nino. That's a fucking trash review right there. But shout out to Try though. He actually likes the album, so that's gonna be an interesting review. And this upcoming Sunday, we're gonna talk about the My Way album from Usher. I know a lot of people wanted me to do that one for a while now and shit like that. So that's gonna be a big one. That's gonna be with Steven, Mike, Try, Ashley, and we're gonna have a special guest too. So and July 11th, we're gonna do the new edition, so discography breakdown. We're gonna do that. That's going from 1986 to 2000. And finally, July 14th, we are also going to talk about MF Doom's solo discography and shit like that. So this month, man, I'm gonna talk about like a lot of good shit. And of course, I got a lot more views. And of course, I got a collection video I'm gonna do next week too. So as usual, this is your boy Ranch here. Stay tuned for more stuff. Peace.